crazy opening schedule between the Saints and the Panthers. Panthers pre-week 3, Saints being the Saints. And in both games, they made both of them look pretty adequate. They almost climbed back in both games, so they're playing with their food a little bit too much. And last week, they couldn't even hold off their food. They got the lead late in the game, but they let Mac Jones lead the game-winning drive against them. So I don't feel confident in the Cardinals whatsoever. The Seahawks, on the other hand, I think that they've done a pretty good job since week 1. Week 1, they played a full-strength 49ers team, and they just barely lost. Came down to the red zone. Yes, they did fumble the game away, but they almost beat the 49ers. Since then, they've had impressive victories against both the Saints and, prior to that, the Steelers. So I think the Seahawks overall this year have done better. So naturally, I would say the Seahawks are going to win this game. And for some reason, I can't help shake the feeling that the NFC West and just football in general does not work that way. It's not that logical. Sometimes you get Panthers-Falcons games like you did last week where there's no real way in which the Panthers should have won that game by the margin that they did by any given Sunday. And so, inside of me, for some reason, I really do feel like the Cardinals are going to go on and win this game, even though it makes no sense. I'm not gonna predict it. I'm gonna go with the sensible thing here and just go with the Seahawks. I think I owe it to them. They've done really well. I really dogged on them all offseason long. I don't think it was unjustified, but I'm gonna give them their flowers for the moment. The Cardinals, I think you're at 2-1. You can afford to be at 2-2. This is a formidable opponent at full strength. I think they might do you dirty. But if the Cardinals somehow won this game, I wouldn't be super surprised. So, with that, we move into Sunday football, Sunday morning football. And first up, we have a marquee defensive matchup between the 2-1 Minnesota Vikings and the 2-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. And yeah, this is going to be a defensive matchup for the ages. Both of these teams turning the ball, forcing like 5 turnovers last week. Yeah, it was, if you're a Bengals fan, if you're a Patriots fan, probably some of the worst 3 hours of your life. I think, honestly, the Patriots had it much easier because it was still anybody's game up until the end. The Vikings, though, they were smashing the Bengals' goals, and it was horrific. And now you have to live with that being your franchise record-setting loss. And shout out to Malachi for that stat. Anywho, as for this matchup, let's say that these defenses are on par with each other. Which offense do I trust more? Now it's really hard to say. Gut instincts. I don't want to trust the Minnesota Vikings offense with Carson Wentz. It seems so absurd that Carson Wentz in 2025 can play decent football, and I hate relying on a backup to be the guy. At least in this situation, I don't think that I don't have that much faith in Carson Wentz. But you take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, like last week when these two teams were generating all their turnovers, at least the Vikings could score on them. The Steelers, they got 5 turnovers, and they got like 7 points off of it. Aaron Rodgers and company really did not do that well. I think that the only good thing going for them was Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren had a pretty exceptional game, and their defense was immaculate. But their offense might honestly be worse than the Carson Wentz-led Minnesota Vikings. It's hard to say. And yeah, even though the Steelers defense did really well last week, the first 2 weeks were kind of lousy on the defensive side of the ball. Then you let the Jets run up the score on you, then you got killed by the Seahawks. Whereas the Vikings, yeah, they kind of got embarrassed by the Falcons, but a lot of that did have to do with the offensive issues, and J.J. McCarthy. And last week they looked really impressive. So I'm going to go with the Vikings here on Sunday morning to take this game. Yeah. By the way, that game is going to be played in London, I believe it is. So, all you Londoners out there, get ready for some morning football. I will not watch that game. I will see maybe the last 5 minutes. Anyway, so that brings us back to our regularly scheduled programming for Sunday morning. And on Sunday morning, we're going to see a 2-1 Washington Commanders team take on a 1-2 Atlanta Falcons team. And the Commanders, despite not having Jaden Daniels in their last game, they were just fine. Marcus Mariota led this team to a handy victory over the Las Vegas Raiders, whereas the Falcons lost in embarrassing fashion to one of the worst teams in football, in the Carolina Panthers. I don't know quite how they did it. I mean, obviously lots of defense and special teams mistakes and offensive errors, but it's still unfathomable that you can lose to 30 by the Panthers in this generation. It's been a while since I've seen the Panthers go ham like that on a team. So, right now, Atlanta, you are a laughingstock. I don't know, like, you had been really hyped after that Vikings win. You looked dominant on defense. Offensively, took your foot off the gas because you didn't need to do all that much. But I don't know where the offense was at all last week. And I don't trust it. The Commanders, yes, they got stymied by the Green Bay Packers, but the Packers, weeks 1 and 2, their defense, even in week 3, their defense has been elite. So I'm not going to hold that against them too much. I think in the other 2 weeks, they've done just fine. I see no reason why I shouldn't believe in the Commanders picking up the victory here, even on the road. Next up, we've got a matchup between the 0-3 New Orleans Saints and the 3-0 Buffalo Bills. I'm sorry, guys. You know the Saints, weeks 1 and 2, valiant efforts. They didn't shock, but they at least impressed at the level of competition. And last week, none of that. Not a single smidge of impression. It was impressive how badly they performed. So, like, the negative of impressive. Depressive is probably the accurate word. But yeah, on the other hand, the Buffalo Bills, they're at a strong 3-0. They warded off the Ravens in week 1. Week 2, they did just fine. And last week, they also warded off Miami. Every week, this offense has got it going, and I don't think that this is going to be a particularly tough matchup playing at home once again. I do feel like Buffalo's gotten a lot of home games in this opening stretch. So I think later on in the year they might have more struggles as they have to play more and more on the road. But for the time being, going with the logical pick and the Buffalo Bills winning this game. Next up, we have the 1-2 Cleveland Browns taking on the 2-1 Detroit Lions. And I think this matchup is fun to think about for a second, but realistically, the Lions, they're coming off 2 very impressive weeks. Week 1 against Green Bay, they hadn't had the chance to figure out yet. Their O-line was not in place. Their coordinator's first game on the job. Since then, we have seen like a 52-point performance from them and a 38-point performance from them. I will say that the Cleveland Browns defense in weeks 1 and in weeks 3 was quite impressive. Held the Bengals in check, albeit it was the week 1 Bengals, which are never good. And then you had the Packers in check. But the last time this Browns team played an explosive offense was week 2 against the Ravens, and we saw how that went. Started off kind of close, and then straight avalanche in the second half. I think that the Lions, they're rolling. They got their 1 early loss out of the way. I think that they're ready to get in a rhythm. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions getting the win here. And know last week Cleveland pulled off the upset, but yeah, I can't fathom it happening again in back-to-back weeks. They got a good one. They got a good win there, but I'm not going to be the one to predict the Lions upset here. After that, we have a matchup between the 1-2 Carolina Panthers and the 1-2 New England Patriots. Now, I feel like it's been a while since I've been this Patriots tilted. I feel like in last year, I don't really remember how favorable of a shot I gave them on a rookie year. Drake May. I feel like 2 years ago I was very skeptical, and a lot of the times I had some, I don't even know if I'd call it hope. I had some faith, but I didn't really have hope. Now, I think the hope has caused me to lean more Patriots. I get very tunnel vision when I actually believe in the team, and this is one of those years where I believe in the team, and last week I fully think we could have won it had we not turned the ball over 5 times. And I do think that we're going to make adjustments on that. Drake May will be a little less silly in the pocket. I think that Tre'Veon Henderson will take more snaps away from Ramondre Stevenson and Gibson, the fumble friends. And hopefully if we can hold on to the ball a little bit better, then we can get a rather easy win. So yeah, we definitely could have won last week. In the Panthers, while I do want to acknowledge how well they did last week against the Falcons, everything we've seen outside of that has been horrendous. I think the Patriots, yes, they had fumble issues, but offensively I think that they look good. And I don't think, even though the Panthers won last week, I don't think offensively they look good. Like, I think they just had short field to play with. Granted, the Patriots could give them a bunch of short fields to play with, and we could just see the exact same thing happen. But I think that the Patriots are going to limit their turnovers to 1, maybe 2. I mean, that's all a guy can ask for, just 1 turnover in a game. Maybe even 0 if we're really lucky. And I think if we can actually limit ourselves to 1 turnover, then we have a fair shot of beating this Panthers team. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Patriots once again. I know I've done it a lot this year. I think I've done it every week. But to be fair, these are all winnable games. Like, week 1, obviously you gotta go with your team. When you're playing someone like the Raiders, we didn't win that one. Kept faith, beat the Dolphins. Obviously gonna be high on them. Still feel pretty good about it. The early stretch, like, we haven't played a really fearsome team, so I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, they're definitely beating us. So, it is what it is. Patriots for the win. We move on. After that, we have a matchup between the 3-0 Los Angeles Chargers and the 0-3 New York Giants. I gotta say that the Chargers are looking mighty impressive defensively. They are prolific. They have done a really good job through their first 3 matchups. And last week, they come from behind to win against tied to win. Well, no, they weren't behind. They were behind. They got up, and then they went on to win the game. I think the Chargers are doing something that they haven't done in the past, which is not choke games. They're not necessarily in the driver's seat. They're behind late, and they're managing to catch up and win. And that really is a difference maker. When you can win a 1-score game, that completely changes the outlook of your season. The Giants, on the other hand, they are making headlines this week as they've already decided to go ahead and start their rookie quarterback prospect in Jackson Dart heading into this week for a matchup with the Chargers. Now I gotta say, this decision came way sooner than I thought it was going to. I thought we're gonna see Russell Wilson for a lot longer in the season, probably to where it's like the last 5 games. And it's very hard. Like, on one hand, we're a week removed from Russell Wilson, like, throwing for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. But at the same time, he also did throw, like, a game-sealing pick in that game. And last week, he wasn't good. And on top of not being good, he, like, completely blew to see Jameis, though. I think that this is a tough first defensive matchup. You've got a lot of very good defenses coming up in your schedule, and it's not going to be an easy welcome to the league scenario for Jackson Dart. You're throwing him to the wolves at this point. Yeah, listen, I get that maybe you didn't want to play him. Throw Jameis out for a couple weeks, let him get his yips out, he'll win a couple games, he'll get like 800 yards in maybe 2 games, it'll be fun, and then he'll throw like 3 interceptions, he'll just do what Russ did, and then you can put in Dart, but like get the hard games out of the way. You don't want this guy getting sacked by Khalil Mack in his first game. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. A rookie against an undefeated team. I'm going with the undefeated team. Anywho, after that, we get a matchup between the 3-0 Philadelphia Eagles and the 3-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whoever wins this game looking to move towards the tippy top of that NFC. And, if Mike Evans wasn't hurt, this could be very interesting. I know we saw Tampa Bay pull off the upset last year. They were winning against all the big teams. They won against the Lions. They won against the Eagles. They're actually a very adequate team, well coached. Every week this year, they put themselves in winning positions, and they have come out on top. So I'll give them credit in that regard. The Eagles, I think on paper the Eagles are just better offensively. Very talented, just in every single position. The Buccaneers also, seeing Mike Evans go down last week, you've got to consider that a little bit. And defensively, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can probably eliminate Saquon Barkley. We saw the Rams do a fairly good job on Saquon Barkley last week, and it took the Eagles a moment to remember that they can actually throw the ball. But once they did, they came soaring back in that game, no pun intended. So if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can get thrown on, I don't know. I do think if the Bucs are at full strength, I think that they honestly can win this game, especially considering the Eagles' defense and how much they allowed last week. But I don't think they're going to get a runaway lead like that. I think even if they do lead in this game, it's going to be manageable, and Philadelphia is going to make it up. So I'm going to go with the Eagles getting the win here against the Bucs. After that, we have a AFC South down between the 0-3 Tennessee Titans and the 0-3 Houston Texans. Now the Titans being 0-3, completely valid. You have no O-line. You just have the number 1 overall draft pick. No one's expecting you to do well. But the Texans, a lot of people thought these guys were a playoff team, and I am willing to give it a little bit more hope, but the chances are very slim at this point. You gotta get this one. I really do think last week was your chance to get one that you should have won, because you start off against the Rams, hard to win. Buccaneers, it's hard to win. But the Jags last year were not very good, and you could not do much offensively all 3 games. You've really struggled offensively. If you can't get it going against the Titans, I'm not sure who you're going to beat. So this is a must-win for the Texans. And for the Titans, I wouldn't sweat it. You were never in playoff contention. That was never the goal. The goal is to just improve and get better. I think that the Texans' defense is not that easy of one to win against. I think that they've made life pretty hard on their opponents. It wasn't an easy week for the Rams. Like, realistically, the defense is doing fine. It's just the offense is putrid. The offense is not able to get anything done. So, I don't think that the Titans' offense is going to have a huge amount of success. And the Titans defensively, well, coming off of last week's performance, I can't say that they're that great of a group. I mean, I don't think that they're horrible, but they're not exceptionally good. Whereas I do think the Texans' defense is probably the best thing they've got going for them. So I'm going to go with the Texans finally picking up a win here and leave the Titans winless after 4 weeks. Next up, we have a matchup between the 3-0 Colts and the 2-1 LA Rams. And I think that this game is really going to test me in what I know. Because the Colts, I doubted them week 1, I doubted them week 2, and then I learned my lesson. Obviously they're playing the Titans, so it was easy. But they look really good. They do look like, at the very least, a top 10 team in football. And I want to say that this is going to be a very close game. Because the Rams, let's not sit here and pretend like they're sorry by any means. They were sitting at a strong 2-0, and then they took on 2-0 Eagles, took it to the very last play, and just so happened to lose. I mean, Jordan Davis is a beast, so him getting that block, all credit to him. That special teams unit at the end for the Eagles really sealed the deal for them. But the Rams were in multiple positions to win that game, and the Colts, I think that the Rams played week 2. Titans. Okay, so both of them have a win against the Titans. The Rams, they have a win against the Texans. Colts have a win against the Broncos. It's, if Daniel Jones and company can pull this one off, I'll be mighty impressed. I think if they can do it, I'm willing to consider the AFC South theirs. Obviously, we'll have to see how the Jaguars and Colts play out later down the season, but I'm willing to give them the keys to the AFC South for now if they can get this win. But they're going to have to do it without me on their side. I'm going to go with the Rams. Playoff team last year, Stafford's still in. They almost took down the Eagles, and I don't know, I don't think I can really look over that. It's hard for me to look past. I mean, the Colts, they're doing great. No doubt about it. I'm not saying that they're fake. I think that they're a very legit team. I think they're both strong teams. But push comes to shove, I would rather have the Rams in a game. So I'm going to go with the Rams, and I'll live with the outcome. But I think it'll be very close and very fun. Anywho, after that, we've got a matchup between the 2-1 Jacksonville Jaguars and the 3-0 San Francisco 49ers. Now, I really think this game depends on how Brock Purdy comes out, because I think the reports and signs are that Brock Purdy is back from his turf toe shoulder combination injury. And if that's the case, are we going to see him actually do well? Is he going to be healthy? I don't know. And if he doesn't play, and we see Mac Jones a revenge game. He was just on the Jags, did not that well for them. They'll have to see. For the time being, though, I feel like obviously you can't water a team down to just one player. But if you noticed how good the San Francisco 49ers are when Christian McCaffrey's just on the team, healthy and playing, like they're kind of unstoppable. Obviously, they were not unstoppable, but Mac Jones being 2-0, you just beat the Cardinals, who really aren't injured in any way. You've already elapsed every injury you could have. Brock Purdy is out, George Kittle is out, Nick Bosa is out. Everyone on the team that's important, aside from, I guess, Fred Warner and Christian McCaffrey, has already gotten hurt. So, the fact that you're sitting pretty at 3-0, just because CMC is in here, might need to give the guy MVP if he makes it through the season. And the 49ers do what they do again. Whereas the Jags, they're getting the things in the right spots. Very meaningful win against the Texans last once the Jaguars are clicking, they'll actually be a scary team. They've managed to do a lot. They've managed to do enough to get the wins here. But once they're actually, like, smooth, once they're rolling, this will be a good team. I don't think we've gotten there yet, and I think San Francisco... Anyway, after that, we've got two teams trying to make it out of the mud. We have the 1-2 Baltimore Ravens taking on the 1-2 Kansas City Chiefs. One of these teams is going to fall to 1-3, and it is going to be disastrous. Because imagine the narrative around one of these teams being 1-3, and imagine the Texans, they pick up their one win. Theoretically, both teams have a similar shot of making the playoffs. So, it'll be interesting, very interesting. But, between the Ravens and the Chiefs, what do we see? What do we see in these two teams? I see Derrick Henry fumbling the ball a lot, and that's gotta stop. I also see the Chiefs being very depleted, incomplete on offense, partially due to injury, mostly just due to injury. And so, I believe you get Xavier Worthy back this week, and hopefully that helps. But, one thing you can make note of from Baltimore's 2 losses this year is that they at least went out swinging. Like, week 1 against the Ravens, they put up 40, and they lost that game. Week 2, they put up 41. Week 3, yes, they lose. They still put up 30 points. So I think if you're going to beat the Ravens, you have to be able to outscore them. It's not going to be that you're going to stop their offense from putting up points. You're just going to have to put up more than them. And the Chiefs, at the moment, unfortunately, I don't think they can do that. I think offensively, they look like a mess. They managed to get the win last week against the Giants. And the Giants are just more dysfunctional. Like, yeah, credit to the Kansas City defense. But offensively, none of the 3 weeks have they looked very good at all. And I don't think a semi-healthy Xavier Worthy getting thrown back into the mix is going to be enough to take down a top 3 offensive team like the Ravens. So I'm just going to keep it short and say I'm going with the Ravens here, even though the Chiefs kind of own the Ravens. I'm ready to get hurt again. Anywho, after that we have a matchup between the 1-2 Chicago Bears and the 1-2 Las Vegas Raiders. The Bears, congratulations to the Bears for essentially saving their season. A loss last week, you're in the mud, you're hopeless, essentially. By winning the way that you did last week, you've renewed some level of hope, and you can really be very okay with how your season outlook looks. If you can win here, you just gotta beat a Raiders team. In the last 2 weeks, it's not impressed. Week 1, they look good. Against the Patriots, they did look good. But 3 weeks in the making, their offensive line has been not that great at blocking. Ashton Jeanty has not gotten it going at all. Gino has been able to air it out. And he might be able to do the same against the Chicago Bears team. But I think Ben Johnson finally found himself when he was in Detroit getting the brains beat out of him in his home turf. He was like, oh, right, that's how I used to do that. And he went back and he got Chicago their 30-point game against the Cowboys. And the Raiders on defense, they just came back from allowing Marcus Mariota to run 40 on them. So how can I not say that Caleb Williams, who threw for 4 touchdowns, nearly 300 yards last week, is going to struggle against this Raiders team? I'm not going to say it, and so I'm not going to say it. I think that the Bears are winning this game. Anyway, after that, we get our Sunday night matchup, the revenge game that I don't know if we're really waiting for it, but some people are waiting for. And this is going to be Micah Parsons versus his old team, the Dallas Dallas Cowboys. Got Green Bay versus Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Green Bay has had 2-1 coming off a humiliating last-second loss to the Browns in a game that they absolutely should have won. Lined it up for a field goal, had it blocked. Or, no, they just missed. One way or the other. No, I think they had it blocked. And then Browns go down the field the other way, kick the field goal, it's in. Browns take the win against the undefeated Packers is the headline we've seen all last week. Cowboys on the other hand, CeeDee Lamb is out. Offensively, they look like a mess. With him out, it's just Jake Ferguson on Jake Ferguson, and I don't think Jake Ferguson's going to be enough to take care of this Packers team. And yeah, as much as the Packers struggled last week offensively, defensively, they only allowed 13 points. And I don't think we're going to see the Cowboys score very much either. So as long as the Green Bay Packers can score 15 points, I think they can win this game, considering the Cowboys have let up like 20 plus, 30 plus, 30 plus. Should be fairly easy. So I'm going to go with the Packers win here. I think that Micah gets his revenge against Jerry Jones and company. Finally, we move into our 2 Monday Night Football games. We've got, first up, the 0-3 Jets versus the 0-3 Dolphins. What a game, what a game. This is what we live for. Seeing two teams go toe-to-toe to be one of the last unwinnable teams in a game. Oh my goodness, what am I saying? Nonsense. Anywho, if Justin Fields were healthy, I think that this would be fun. I don't know how close he is to getting out of the concussion protocol. Last I checked, which was yesterday, no firm answers from Aaron Glenn and no clear signs that he is absolutely playing. I think it does help that it's on Monday. But the Dolphins, I mean, both teams have played relatively well last week. Under Tyrod Taylor, Jets really rallied in that second half and almost got the upset win. With the Dolphins, you can say that they made life hard on the Bills through like 3.5 quarters, and that would be very true. But it's just, we don't have continuity, at least with the Dolphins. Even though they suck, they've gone kind of closer in the last 2 weeks. Horrible week 1, but then very close to winning in week 2. And though it wasn't like quite as close, they still did a pretty good job in week 3 for most of the time. With the Jets, they had a fantastic week 1, but horribly regressed in week 2. If we're just comparing how these two teams did against the Bills, the Dolphins performed way better. And then last week, you can't really count it because it's Tyrod. So just in terms of like consistency and continuity, I think the Dolphins have the edge. I think they did better against the Bills. I'm going with the Dolphins winning on Monday Night Football. And that brings us to our last game. Our last game of the week is going to be a Monday night matchup between the 2-1 Cincinnati Bengals and the 1-2 Denver Broncos. And I got 2 words for you. Jake Browning, must-see TV. That's more than 2 words. Yeah. Jake Browning, that's all you need to know. Look at how Jake Browning has, what he has done for this team, what he has done for the city. He is causing pain and anguish. 3 interceptions week 1. You saw what the offense did last week. The Broncos, yeah, they're 1-2. They couldn't get it against the Chargers. They lost it 2 weeks ago. They've come off of 2 clutch time losses. I think that they can get this one. They're playing at home against Jake Browning. I think they can get this one. I think they're ready for their get back. So that is all. We can quickly recap all of the matchups from this week once again for your convenience. First up, we've got the Seattle Seahawks beating the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football in our London game. Is it London or is it Ireland? I don't know. comment, and subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos as the weeks progress. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.